Here we go then, it's race 2, it's the reverse grid race, and this is using the full GP layout. So drivers are going to have to relearn how to drive some of these corners because they're all a little bit different now, but everyone seems to get away well. Gwydion got a fantastic start, so did the darkest one all the way from the back, makes up 2 positions straight away, but it's going to be Gwydion that leads us into turn 1 in the lead, followed by Dodgy, followed by Danny Oxton, then Steve Stones just starting to get caught by Spider Team a little bit there in P5, but Steve Stones actually had a great exit from turn 1 and gets himself back up into P3. Spider Team have got a terrible start there in the Bugatti. Bugatti, of course, yeah, he just sort of went a little bit deep there. That allowed Rob through. Rob, of course, the winner last time out. Dominant performance from Rob in the Indy circuit. As Gwydion remembers to go to turn left here rather than right. And that's Nate Fletcher. Oh, Spider Team's going on a bit of an adventure there. Well, he's not having a great opening lap here in the Bugatti Veyron. I think he's the only driver to be using the Bugatti Veyron. As P1 Rob makes a move past him, does he just get the car on the marbles? Does he just brake a little bit late? I think it looks like he carries a bit, yeah, too much speed. And unfortunately that's a trip to the gravel then for Spider Team as Nate Fletch goes up to P6 in the Toyota 86, followed by the darkest one in the Ferrari. So this one, this race of course is what Steve Stones get his way up into P2. That's a great move there by Steve Stones using the Renault Megane. The second available Renault Megane, the front wheel drive touring car based version, as Dodgy concedes that second position. He's going to start coming under pressure from Danny Oxton's Ferrari in a moment. Is it Ferrari or is it Dodge Viper? I want to say it's a Dodge Viper. Looks the same from the front. I'm going to get called out now for not knowing the difference between an Italian supercar and an American brick, but there we go. Yeah, and we've got Rob coming up to the back of this little pack as well. A little bit easy to overtake here in the GP version. You've just got to exercise a little bit of caution. It's not the easiest track to make an overtake. P1 Rob was having a look up the inside of Danny Oxton there. Yeah, so as I was saying, the drivers here will have selected a second car. They will have been using this one throughout the season. Now the second car is any other Group 4 machine that isn't the Renault Megane Trophy, hence why the Renault Megane FF car, as we call it, the front wheel drive car that Steve Stones is driving, is available for selection. Not overly popular. A very popular car though is the one that P1 Rob's driving, and that's the VW Sirocco, an exceptionally fast car, another touring car based format, front wheel drive, front engine, can wear its front tyres out rather quickly, but is ridiculously quick. So yeah, this is the one that opens it up a little bit. It's also the reverse grid race, so the drivers at aka P1 Rob, who had a great outing in Brands Hatch Indy, as Dodgy's just starting to come under a little bit more pressure then. He will have started right at the back. That Sirocco doesn't start well anyway. Danny Oxton goes off. What happened to Danny Oxton? Let's go on board with Nate Fletch. He had a good view of this one then, so he pulled right up to the back. He was looking for a move. No contacts made at all, and it's in fact it's probably Danny Oxton giving him a little bit too much room, and that nerfed Danny Oxton unfortunately, who sent his car into the gravel kind of all by himself unfortunately. Steve Stones though has jumped into the lead somewhere. Where did that happen? Right at the start of the lap. We did miss that completely then by Steve Stones. Oh, it's Gwydion's mistake. It was down at Surtees there. Steve Stones in the Megane able just to peel off into the distance just a little bit. So coming through the second lap, Steve Stone's in the lead. We've got Woody in P2, we've got Rob in P3, Dodgy in P4, Danny Augustin. We're about to see a repeat of his accident because we have gone back. So we're going to see him and Nave J Fletch again, but as you can see, absolutely acres of room given there between the two. So that puts Danny Augustin down to 7th. We've got the darkest one in P6. And then it's Spider Team in P8. Only 8 drivers today. There's not very many cars to follow in this one. And because of the nature of this race, it can get a little bit difficult to follow the race, because the once the first few laps are out of the way and the drivers have sort of sorted themselves out, we're not expecting any drivers to need a pit stop in this one tonight. It is going to just be a 30-minute sprint race really. There is going to be tyre degradation, which probably will affect the drivers like Rob. He will really need to get up front pretty quickly really, or he'll just be following other cars around, and that is detrimental to your tyre wear. As we get this camera angle here, I absolutely love this camera angle. You get to see some really nice shots of the cars as it looks like it's going to run you over. That's the last of them coming through, but Steve Stone's narrow lead then over Gwydion in the Subaru WRX 4-wheel drive car. So it has a little bit more in the way of stability, but P1 Rob is looking up the inside then, doesn't manage to get the move made. Rob is going to just have to wait his turn. So as they come down towards Sterling's, he's not close enough. He's actually getting pressure then from Nate Fletch. The top 4 really starting to bunch up now. We've got Steve Stone still leading this contingent, but there's a little bit of contact there between Gwydion and P1 Rob. We'll just go back and have a little bit of a look at that. So the side-by-side coming into clearways, and yeah, there's a little bit of contact at the apex. But I think it was 6 to 1 half of those. Everyone carries on. Nate Fletcher in the Toyota 86 is going to get a run on the VW Sirocco, and I think Rob's just going to let that one go for now, and we'll probably come back, maybe attack up into Druids, but Nate Fletcher's on the attack already on Gwydion. Steve Stones needs to use this little bit of fighting between these guys to just start to break away a little bit, but he's really struggling to do that at the moment as you go down the Cooper Straight in towards Surtees. Just on board, I say on board, nice rear view. Oh, he just gets the tyres on the gravel there. That's going to have halted his acceleration a little bit, but that Megane does outpower the Subaru. As we see Nate Fletcher in the Toyota 86 easily makes a move past. Is Rob going to try and sneak through as well? He is. There is a little bit of contact between the two, and there is an accident. Again, we need to go back and have a quick look at this. So this is looking at Gwydion's car. I don't know what to make of that. What I can tell you is there wasn't an appeal submitted by the team to the stewards, so they must have seen something that we didn't. There is a waiting car though. Is that Nate Fletch? There is. Nate Fletch is waiting. This is probably why there hasn't been an appeal, because Nate Fletcher's car has waited. So did he feel like he had a part to play in this? I'm not sure, so let's have a look. Oh, he hits Steve Stones. That's what he's waiting for. He hits Steve Stones. He slows. He kind of gets off the racing line. It's hard to get off the racing line here at Brands Hatch because it's such a narrow track. And then, yeah, Nate Fletch resumes. So that's the sportsmanship showing. He was genuinely at fault for that incident. It was a hit from rear, but, you know, just got his braking wrong. And he waited for Steve Stones. Plenty of time for him to make amends for that 24 minutes remaining of this race. But that promotes the darkest one into P3, and he's just kept his nose clean. We've got Dodgy in P2. This has really mixed the order up a little bit. It's gifted P1 Rob though a big lead coming into lap 4. Then you've got Dodgy in P2, darkest one P3. Steve Stone's now just ahead of Nate Fletch, P4, P5 respectively. Then it's Gwydion in P6, Danny Augustin in P7, and then it's Spider Team down in P8. But the man that's benefited from all of this chaos really is Proam Rob, the winner last time out. VW Sirocco, a very difficult car to beat here as well. It is exceptionally quick. The darkest one's Ferrari in a good position in P3. Nate Fletch is past Steve Stones again. I don't think Steve actually using the medium compound on the front, so that team is worried about tyre wear during this race. So with cars like the Sirocco and the Megane, these are front wheel drive cars, so they do wear their fronts out quicker than the cars that use the rear wheels to drive with. And that is showing in his tyre selection today. He's using the super softs on the rear, so he's got a really sticky compound on the rear of the car and the mediums on the front, so that'll be getting a lot of understeer. Just because the balance of the car is all off, but it does mean that he's got he'll have a little bit of a tyre wear advantage. The Subaru suffers from a similar fate, although we've seen previous races that Gwydion does like to look after his tyres. It's four-wheel drive, but it puts a lot of its torque through the front wheels. It is very much still a touring car format, that Subaru. Danny Ogston also worried about tyre wear. That Viper, even though it's a rear-wheel drive car, that Viper running mediums on the front. So maybe these guys are thinking long term then. We've got Rob, who's out there on the softs on the front, Dodgy softs on the front, Darkest One softs on the front, and Nate Fletch softs on the front as well. So all these guys in the top four, in theory, we'll start to see a little bit of tyre dead kick in for these, probably about the 15-20 minute mark. Although if they start fighting, that will be exacerbated even more so. And as we see, Nate Fletch and the Darkest One gonna start to battle here as we jump into lap number 6. Does Nate Fletch go for a move? He sticks his nose out. That's the 86 through them past the Darkest One. He didn't really put up too much of a fight. Probably just happy where he's at the moment. Quite early in the race. Oh, is he? He just gets that one wrong. Let's have a look. Let's just see what happened there. So this is on board the helmet cam. So this is Westfield. So there's Nate Fletch going past. Now you come down Dingledale. Sheen curve, now it's a blind apex. You just have to trust where the car's going in, and he just dips left wheels on the grass, unbalances the car, and unfortunately for the Darkest One, that puts him on the beach in the sand, and he'll have to dig himself out and carry on. Successfully manages to do that, but I think Gwydion's going to get past him at least, and he decides to rejoin safely and wait for Danny Ogston to come past. Spider Team in the Veyron might get past him as well. The Darkest One obviously going to have dirty tyres for a little bit. Spider Team in the Veyron just decide just not to fight that one too much. And this is already turning into a race of attrition then. The gap's starting to open up in the fields. Some drivers just starting to struggle here at Brands Hatch. Some mistakes are starting to creep in, although we are only a third of the way through this race, so the full story has yet to be told. So we're on board with Dodgy. He's been running second place in his Ferrari, but Nate Fletch in the Toyota 86 just has been catching him a little bit, and just as we come down towards Graham Hill, Dodgy just goes a little bit deep there, and that does let Nate Fletch past. Unfortunately, the Ferrari driver, that does put him down into P3. Nate Fletch now has to get on with the job of chasing down Rob. The problem is that Rob's just at the fastest lap of the race at 29.8. And at the moment, Rob isn't really struggling with his tyres either, so it's going to be difficult for Nate Fletch to reel him in on pure pace. But if he can keep his nose clean, maybe if Rob makes a mistake, maybe if his tyre wear starts to kick in, who knows, it might come to him later on. So Nath then, currently the only person who can threaten Rob's crown and stop him from taking a double at Brands Hatch. As he just overcooked it, coming through Sheen curve, just about rescued it there, but is he carrying too much speed? He puts his foot down. Oh, he's just not as much grip on that grass, and he spears that Toyota into the barrier. That's dodgy gone through. Can Steve Stones make it past? He can. So that's Nate Fletcher's. Oh no. He was looking, to be fair, he was looking like he could sort of be there really in case Rob made a mistake of any kind, but unless Rob does fall off the cliff, and that's kind of put Nath out of contention. It's a P1 1-2 though, with P1 Rob and P1 Dodgy then in P1 and P2 as we approach the halfway point of this one. So it is VW, it's Ferrari, it's Renault, it is Toyota. Gwydion and the Subaru still holding P5 ahead of the darkest one's Ferrari, although he gets Graham Hill wrong. That's going to let the darkest one close up. And then it is Spider Team in P7. We've lost a driver. We're down to just 7 again. I do hope we get a better turnout next week. It's Danny Ogston that's fallen out. What's happened to Danny? So Danny was running in 6th place behind Gwydion. So the digital car culture car looks like he did have an off down in turn 1. Let's have a look and see what happened to Danny. This caused the retirement of the Viper. Just overcooked it a little bit. That will spear you into the opposing barrier, and he's just about saved it, to be fair. But it's going to cost him that much time. Unfortunately, it's going to be a retirement for Danny Ogston. Looking at it, some donuts in the sands, but the car cannot be rescued, unfortunately. So that puts Danny Ogston out of the race. Just 7 cars competing. That means even Spider Team, who's down in P7, granted he's not too far away from our Canadian, the darkest one. It's even going to be pretty decent points for Spider Team today, even if he finishes dead last in the race. Just because of how many cars are competing in this one. Nate Fletcher, after he's off on lap 8, is looking to redeem himself and back to the scene of the crime for Nate Fletcher. Is he going to be brave enough to attempt to move up at Sheen Curve? The answer to that one is no. He takes it nice and steady. Although Steve Stones is going to be very, very, very aware that he's coming for him. And Nate, who on pace is about 2 seconds a lap faster than Renault, maybe the tyres are going to have a big advantage on that one. The mediums just aren't anywhere near as grippy as the soft tyres that Nate Fletcher is sporting on that Toyota. It doesn't look like he's going to be close enough down for him moving to T1, but he can set the line and move up into Druids if he gets a good exit out of here. He does indeed, though. He's going to be right up alongside Steve Stones. Steve opts not to fight that one too hard. Nate does go deep. Steve gets it nicely tucked up. And he was looking like he might be able to attack back into Graham Hill Bend, but alas, isn't able to do so on this occasion. So if he just keeps his nerve, Steve Stones, he's sort of proved that he's there, he's ready, he's able. That means we're definitely within reaching distance of a P2 if the guys ahead do have any more incidents. If Steve Stones can just keep his nose clean, he's knocking in consistent 32s. If he can keep doing that, he'll be right there if anyone ahead does make a mistake. Nate Fletcher on pace should catch Dodgy. Within a couple of laps, I'd estimate, but none of them really doing the pace that P1 Rob is. He's now settled into a pretty consistent rhythm. He's done the fastest lap of the race on lap 7. Now can just settle into the race. Podium positions aren't decided yet. Plenty of time left for those to change. And of course the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th is spread out a little bit at the moment. Give that a few laps and I think this will close up as well. Coming back to the action then, 22 minutes in, lap 15, just a little bit of a recap. Things are starting to close back up now. We're starting to see a few battles form. So Rob still out there all by himself. Massive lead. Dodgy has been getting reeled in by Nate Fletcher in the Toyota, about a second or so a lap, and he's going to be within striking distance soon. This battle for 4th hasn't changed, but it has been getting closer. Steve Stone's been getting reeled in then. The tyres on that on that Samsung Renault just haven't been working for Steve Stones today. And Gwydion and the Darkest One both been putting in some pretty good lap times, and they're catching. So the battle for fourth is yet to be decided, and the battle for P2 is going to be getting close as well, as Nath J Fletch puts in a 30.6 as opposed to a 32.9, and Dodgy makes a mistake down at P1, and it's as easy as that, down at turn 1, and that is Nath Fletch up into P2. So Dodgy can definitely consolidate a P3 here. Provided he keeps it on the circuit, that should really be a given, because the cars behind are going to start battling any time soon. As the clock ticks down, then Gwydion, Steve Stones and the Darkest One should start to fight out for P4 honours. As we see Gwydion then all over the back, and that was a nice overtake then by Gwydion, almost came out of nowhere. Let's have a look on board with Gwydion and see how that happened. I think, yeah, he just got a really good exit out of Graham Hill. Down the Cooper Straight into the end. I think the entry to Surtees is going to be what sells it. SD Stone's just a little bit late on the brakes, and is just able to get that move made. Can the Darkest One then take advantage? The Renault very quick in a straight line. The Ferrari might struggle in the straights to catch it. Of course, in a straight line tyre wear, less of an issue. It's definitely going to be through the corners that Ferrari is going to reel him back in again. And you can see they're just taking chunks of time out of him, and especially on the entry. Darkest One just able to be on the brakes a lot later. These Stones could be staring at a P6 here if this carries on. The Darkest One just going to have to choose his moment though, because what he doesn't want to do is jeopardise his own race. If he makes this overtake clean as Steve Stones goes off the track, this should help. The Darkest One should be able to drive past, but no, yep, Steve Stones actually just lets him go in the end. What I was going to say, the Darkest One can start to chase after Gwydion and potentially get himself into P4. That is definitely a possibility then as we go on to lap number 17. Let's have another little race recap then. Last 5 minutes. So it's P1 Rob in P1. A big lead over everyone else. Really consistent, even with the front wheel drive Sirocco that does like to eat its tyres. He's done a really good job of managing that through the course of the race. Then you got Nath J Fletch, P2 for Nath J Fletch, and starting. Oh, I was just going to say, just starting to get his head in the game, but then he drives off. He's had a bit of an up and down race, but he'll be more than happy coming away with this in P2. Dodgy, who spent most of his race after the initial, I want to say, chaos had started. He's at P3. Then Gwydion is starting to come under pressure then from the Darkest One in P5. Steve Stones has fallen away from this. In fact, he's got himself a little bit of a penalty as well. Jump on board with the Ferrari of the Darkest One. Just runs it a little bit wide. He's going to curl a little bit of his speed away. And now the Darkest One not going to be in a position right now to make that move, but just needs to keep his head about him. That Ferrari should be quicker than the Subaru over a lap distance. Then you have got Steve Stones. P6, a little bit of a penalty to burn away, but he doesn't have to worry about that. And you can't overtake with a penalty, of course, but unless he gets in a position to overtake someone, then he doesn't really have to worry about it. Spider Team has just kept plugging away. He's going to secure P7 points at the absolute minimum. It's still good points for the championship, so we can't be disappointed with that one at all. Definitely going to be worth keeping an eye on Gwydion v the Darkest One. I think that's really where we're going to see the fights erupt, if there are going to be any. A couple of laps remaining in this one, just a couple of minutes remain. I think the podium positions are all sort of bagged now, unless anyone falls off the circuit. And in fairness, P1 Rob can afford to come off and then rejoin again, and he'd still be in the lead. His lead at the moment over Nath Fletch, 21 seconds. So yeah, he's got a lot of time then over Nath Fletch. You've got Dodgy, P3, Gwydion holding 4th at the moment, just managing to keep the darkest one honest. Stone still with a little bit of that penalty, but again doesn't really have to worry about it. He's got P6 in the bag, I think, unless he falls off. Not much more to decide at this one, ladies and gents. We're pretty much about there. It's just Gwydion v the darkest one to watch, and then I think we might be good. So next week, of course, we're going to be covering this league again. I think Mark's still dealing with some things, so I think he's going to be away again, but we don't mind covering. Next week we're at Blue Moon and Tokyo, so two very different circuits. So Blue Moon in the Renault Megane and Tokyo in the second car. So anyone with a car that's quick in a straight line should do very well there. It's very much a power circuit with that absolutely massive main straight, so watch out for lots of slipstreaming. So I'm just trying to think off the top of my head what are really good straight line cars, but I guess we'll figure that out next week. The cars the drivers are using now, I know the Ferrari is a 7-gear car, so that should help. The FFs should be pretty quick there. I'm actually not sure what the Veyron's like in the straight line, I couldn't tell you. So coming on to the last lap for most drivers now. Gwydion's still holding that P4. Yeah, most, in fact all drivers are going to get this final lap out. P1 Rob might even get another, no he won't, this is last lap territory for everybody now. Right, yeah, last lap then. So we'll just give Rob a little bit of a watch. We've not covered him too much on the basis that he got out in front and he pretty much just stayed there. But the We Are Driven driver has driven two phenomenal races here in the Kent countryside, and as he comes round Clark Curve for the last time, he'll be very happy. Two big trophies in the bag for Rob. Two big wins. Well done to P1 Rob for another dominant victory. Nate J. Fletch hasn't been without incident over this race weekend, and probably might be glad to see the back of this one, but all the same, good points in the bag for Nate Fletch. Got to be happy with that. And a podium for P1 Dodgy in the Ferrari, so our last podium finisher then. P1 Dodgy picks up P3. Gwydion just about, I say just about, second or so clear of the darkest one in the end. The Subaru driver grabs P4, darkest one in 5th. Steve Stones is going to take that P6 position. Should be quite happy with that. The Renault not really well suited to Brands Hatch, and then Spider Team and the Bugatti brings home P7, more good points. Join us next week for some more racing from this league. Thanks for watching.